now. Let's bring in WMTV's Shayna Najawan. And Shayna, statements from Wisconsin politicians are now pouring in. Tell us about that.
That's right, and they are from both sides of the aisle, Cameron. Most are condemning the violence and offering prayers for the former president.
Gunshots rang through a crowd in Butler, Pennsylvania this afternoon. Former President Donald Trump was making remarks at a rally when the popping sounds were heard. No matter their political affiliation, from governors to senators to religious leaders, many are speaking out. My thoughts are with President Trump and all of the folks attending tonight's rally in Pennsylvania, Governor Tony Evers said on X. He went on to thank first responders for putting their safety at risk in order to respond to the, quote, horrific act of violence. Senator Tammy Baldwin also strongly condemned the act, stating, quote, my thoughts are with President Trump and his family. Others, such as Senator Ron Johnson and former Governor Scott Walker, posted pictures of Trump, both adding they are praying for him. Senate candidate Eric Hovde also took to X, stating, quote, please pray for President Trump and for our country. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson wished him a speedy recovery. The former president expected to be in the city in less than a week for the Republican National Convention.
And there are still a lot of unknowns. Who was the gunman? Why did he make this decision? And will it impact the upcoming election? Live in the studio, Shayna Najawan, WMTV 15 News.